Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
When people think of networking, generally people think of getting business, right? Getting referrals, landing a client. Entrepreneurs, sales reps, professionals, they need to network. My wife's got a corporate job and she kind of turns her nose up at networking. I don't need to do that stuff. But in reality, we all do need to do that stuff. I mean, I think networking really touches every aspect of our lives. Certainly if you're in job transition, you need to be networking. You need to be that. Your job is to find a job, and to find a job is, if you want to get online and just post things online, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. But your job is to get out there and talk to people, and even if you have a job, you really kind of need to network. You need to learn new things. You need to learn new skills. You need to learn all sorts of different things that are going to help you in that position, because you always have to be moving forward. And even from a personal standpoint, we're always networking. My neighbor and I was like talking about different tools, talking guy things. Hey, let's take that tree out. We can do that together. I saw a video, do this, do that. And families talk about, well, who's your sitter? How did you find a sitter? Where do you go? Where would you send the kids to school? All these things. Networking is everywhere. I love talking to people who are involved in networking in one form or another. Today I have a guest, Cheryl Powers. She's an entrepreneur champion. She's passionate about information empowerment, understanding benefit and resource options to make better decisions, both personally and professionally. I met her last week. We were both on Christy Klein's program. Christy Klein is she's more than just a resume writer. She's a career transition strategist, if you will. And she had Cheryl and I really to kind of talk about networking and just giving people, her audience, different ideas on networking. So anyhow, Cheryl, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Frank. This is going to be so fun because I feel like we're going to have some right turns and left turns that were very unexpected.
Yeah. Well, when we were on that program with Christy, I wrote myself a note. Okay, I've got to invite her on, because you and I kind of speak the same language, but everybody's got a different take on how we should be doing things. And I don't mean right or wrong, but it's hey, here's another analogy. Here's another way of looking at this. Before we hit record, I had mentioned the whole notion of, we all have a networking tree. Does it bear fruit or not? And that's something somebody else gave me. And it's like, oh, that is, that really kind of puts it in terms that people can get their head around. Anyhow, quick question. When did you first discover networking? I mean, like realize, okay, there's something to this.
That I really need to do it. Was really leaving a 30-year radio career. And we just weren't encouraged to network at all. And then I launch out, you have a great idea and you're putting yourself into business. And my husband had gone on to Meetup. And I don't know if you ever recommend people go there. I think it's a little different now than it was back in 2013, but he went to meetup.com and he found some networking things that we could go to, events that we could go to. And so we went to one that was, we live in Dallas, so it was Arlington, so near like Cowboy Stadium. So a bit of a hike here. But we decided, okay, let's dive in and do it. It ended up being Donnie Bovine's group.
And, Success Champions.
But it was before that.
Okay.
So we knew Donnie when Donnie was struggling, right? When he was at Sales Mastery and he hadn't branched out on his own yet. And so it really was networking that told a great story about networking, right? It really was kind of the impetus for our entire networking career. So that's how it started, was with that group over in Arlington, because we needed to. And I just failed miserably, because you think that you know what you're supposed to say, but truly you don't know how you're supposed to do it, right? You might have the right words to say, but actually getting in and making a group, a friendship group instead of a business transactional group, is was really kind of the hardest part of that early on journey. But we figured it out.
Yeah.
But it took a bit. It took a bit. But what's so great is that even in a metroplex, we got 8 million people, right?
Yeah.
Here we started with somebody that now we both have our own organizations within the metroplex, and we cross pollinate, and it's beautiful, right? It's just
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah,
that was kind of the start.
he is a great guy. He's been on the program. We have talked here and there. Um, but no, I mean, it's a great story. I think we all kind of struggle. There's no one way. There's no blueprint. Because you're meeting different people. I didn't run into a Donnie out of the gate, right? I mean, um, I probably ran into a lot of the the opposite. I can't say that word, of Donnie, right? And so, you know, if you run into a lot of people who are not focused on the, give first, get second sort of a mindset, you start to think, okay, that's what I need to do,
Yeah.
you know, um, and you get your nose bloodied quite a bit in
Yeah.
that approach. But
Yeah.
a lot of people do it, you
Yeah.
know. So,
Did you get a bloody nose early on?
yeah, I did because I didn't realize, I would go to networking events and while I used to be an attorney. And hey, who's your attorney? Right? I mean, it's just, it just felt horrible doing it, but I didn't know any other way. And, I could just see I was just alienating people and that hurt. But it's like, okay, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really wasn't, I guess, obviously not figuratively getting a bloody nose, but it's just, this isn't working. It doesn't feel good. It's not
Yeah.
working. Um, and I think eventually you kind of stumble into the right thing
Yeah.
where and what I would do early on, just because I was most comfortable with it. And this is all pre LinkedIn, pre email, pre cell phone, right? It was the mid 90s. I mean, there were bag phones and expensive mobile phones, but not really, not in my price range. But just calling up, as a business attorney, calling up a banker and just saying, listen, I'm in private practice. I left a big firm. I'm in private practice. I would love to come out and learn about your bank, and see what you guys do. I know as I build clients, they're going to have banking needs, and I want to know who I can send them to. You know what? Nobody would not take that meeting,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm, I'm finding success. I don't know that I'm doing the right thing, but I'm finding success.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of books like there are now. There aren't people like you out there kind of, telling the right way of doing things. But I'm sitting and meeting a banker and learning about a bank and meeting people at a bank. And these are small branches perhaps, but it's still a banker. And then getting calls from them saying, hey, I got a client. They need a little bit of estate planning. Can you handle that? You bet I can. Let me just put some pants and shoes on and I'll be
Yeah.
over, right? Kind of
Yeah.
and then it's just you start finding success doing that and realizing, and it's one of the things you talk about is um, mastering the art of question asking and being incredibly interested in people. What is the difference between this bank and that bank? And there are
Yeah.
differences,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And you
so
said
yeah,
this when we were off camera, or off mic, and
yeah,
saying that people always want to talk about themselves, right?
yeah,
They do. You can't go wrong asking
no,
people to talk about themselves. And they will think at the end of that conversation, oh my gosh, Frank is the best
yeah,
conversationalist. I just had the best dialogue. And you
yeah,
might have said 3 words. But
yeah. I mean, I think it's very true. I was talking to somebody who was interviewing financial advisors, and he was talking about one in particular. I was like, the guy couldn't stop talking about his kids, which is, which was off-putting to my friend because my friend's interviewing you, trying to get a sense, and it's almost like the guy wasn't interested in me. Well, what you're doing is a good habit. It's really a bad habit for this advisor. This advisor should be really leaned into what you're about. But I don't know.
I I don't think you can go wrong figuring out how people think or where their heart lives, and then you master the art of kind of guiding that.
Yeah.
and steering that. Ultimately, you got to get down to business at some point. Ultimately, you do, but sometimes the journey, it's a little windy road.
Yeah.
It's not as, it's not a straight line. But
Well, I mean, you had mentioned you had spent 30 years in radio.
yeah,
Everybody's got a story, right? And
yeah,
it just didn't, Cheryl Powers just didn't magically appear on Christy Klein's program. I mean, there's a history there,
yeah.
and to me, those things are fascinating just to see how, what changes things. Now, are you from Dallas originally?
No, I grew up in California in Santa
Okay.
Barbara. That was my childhood, in the kind of a Mecca place. Like it was
Right.
awesome. And then moved to Texas via Montana.
Okay.
So
There.
a year near Canada. We're
Okay.
about 50 miles from the Canadian border, and then ended up here in Texas when I was I think my last year of my junior high. So
Okay.
but I'm like, wow, California to Texas via Montana was like crazy, but it was hard. That was a hard journey. But you do find that you learn a lot about yourself, right? And
Yeah.
what I learned was that I really, really, really loved to know about communities, like to feel like I was a part of it. And that's why I gravitated toward radio, because I'm a kid displaced from
Yeah.
the LA radio community when I was growing up, and I was like so tuned into that when I moved to Texas, I would tune into a radio station, 103.7. For those who are in Dallas, you grew up with that, and it made me feel like I belonged.
Mm.
Right. So it was that sense of community. And so all of a sudden I didn't feel like this orphan here
Yeah.
in Texas that felt so displaced. So that was part of my love for radio, and ultimately why I spent 30 years in it, studied it,
Yeah.
interned
Yeah.
in it, and ended up, 30 years. So
Well, there probably wasn't a lot of radio in Montana. I mean, I grew up in a small
one
town,
station.
one station. We had like two. And I would, what kind of music do you like to listen to? Yeah, I really listen. I grew up listening to it all. It's the country western hour, right? It's the hard rock hour. You know what I mean? Right?
Yes.
And the stations would sign on at 6 a.m. and sign off at 11 o'clock. So I
Yeah.
would wake up earlier, this is the 70s, early in the morning and try to get WLS out of Chicago. Because AM, you get the AM, and then around 6 o'clock you couldn't get it anymore. So
Nope.
yeah,
Nope. That amplitudinal, right? Sun up, sundown kind of.
yeah, yeah.
That's funny. People wouldn't even know what that is anymore. AM, FM, dials, or whatever.
No, yeah, yeah. I thought it was the neatest thing because I could like almost teleport to another city.
Yeah.
Just kind of sit there and move that needle and okay, what am I picking up? What am I picking up? What am I picking up?
Yeah.
So
But not unlike, so if you think about what we're doing here right now,
yeah,
we're kind of teleporting people into our own communities.
yeah,
It's like these are little like micro radio stations, micro television stations that people can plug into and feel like even if you're, removed in, I'm going to think of some place like Kentucky, where you just don't have a big mega city
yeah,
around you or whatever, you can still build this huge community and feel like you plugged in
yeah,
because of what we're doing here, right?
yeah. Well, it's interesting. I did a program last week, a program on referrals. It was over Zoom. I invited lots of people, and I had a woman who was on from Vancouver. And I put people into breakouts, and she hung around. She wanted to talk with me, which is great. I'd love to chat, right? And she said, I listened to your podcast this morning, and you had a woman on from Australia. Can I meet her? So it's like, okay, yeah. She's in Melbourne. I'm going to Melbourne. I would love to meet her and have coffee with her. And I said the wonderful opportunity to introduce these two people. Now, will their schedules connect? I don't know. But there's a chance, right?
Yeah.
And it's just because somebody who's in a different country listens to interview of somebody I talked to in a different continent, different
Yeah.
side of the world,
Yeah.
and it really kind of brings us all together.
Right.
So
And it is the core of what networking is.
yeah,
So it's opening dialogue that you might not have had any other way, right? It's
yeah,
discovery. It's the joy of discovery. And if you can look at it like that, because I know one of the things that really kind of piqued my interest, we were on Christie's show the other day, was that you said you have to change the mindset, right? You can't, if you look at networking like, oh my gosh, I have to do it.
Yeah.
As opposed to the way you should look at it is, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity
Yeah.
for you to get out and meet new people. Might not like all of them, but hey, I'm going to find one that I really like. And it's that discovery that you facilitated there. That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, in the intake notes that you had provided for me, you talked about building a network before we think we need one. And I run into so many people who, hey, Frank, I lost my job. I need help. And it's like, well, what have you been doing? Well, I've been going to work for 30 years at a radio station. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
No, you can't. And that was one of the reasons I put that in there, was because I have a friend. So a girlfriend that we go to church with her family. She runs all our small groups, and so I manage one of the small groups for women. And but with that conversation about helping women of faith network, right, get out into the community, being light and salt or whatever, I say, hey, let me get your husband, who's an entrepreneur, plugged into my other groups, right, just my general networking groups. Well, several years down the road, nothing happened. Nothing happened, and I don't want to press the issue because I don't care. I don't have a membership-based program.
Right.
So there's nothing in it for me. I just want to help them
Yeah.
because I know the value of it. Well, what happens last week? Cheryl, I need to talk to you now. Please, can I call? And I'm like, sure. He lost his biggest client.
Yeah.
And then has a lawsuit pending with another one. And he's like, oh my gosh. Well, don't wait until that happens. It's going to happen. Stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you have to be constantly creating those relationships and the dialogue with people so that you have that fallback. You've got some kind of net underneath you, other things that are already in the works, so you don't have that, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, what's Harvey, is it McKay or Mackey? Is that the book? Dig your well before you're thirsty, right?
Yep.
And I know my kids roll their eyes at me, but hey, just go have coffee with that person.
Yeah.
Well, it's, I'm really busy. It's like, I get it.
Yeah.
But you got to make time. You have to do these things. In fact, I just had a conversation with a friend here in town. We're having coffee later this week, and talking about our kids, and he's same thing, right? You need to branch out. His daughter's working in companies. You need to branch out. You need to meet people in other parts of the company and get to know those people. A big mistake I tell people I made in college. I went to a small college to play football. It's the only reason I went to college. I did well in college, but that's the only reason I showed up. And I hung out with the football players, and I joined the football fraternity and lived in the football fraternity house. And I never really met people beyond that on campus. And that was if I had life to do over again, and I have a good life, right? I probably wouldn't have met my wife, so maybe I don't want to redo it. But I think things would have been different because I've run into people that I went to school with.
Yeah.
That I didn't know. Oh, you were there when I was there.
Yeah.
God, you are really neat. I'm not saying this, but I'm thinking it's like, you're here in the same town, and it's, I don't know. I kick myself.
Yeah.
I tell that story all the time. Just get out there and meet people. And I was short-sighted, but so
you never know what's going to happen. Here's a quick story of a gentleman. So I was VP of the transportation club here in DFW, and this young man came to one of our monthly luncheons, and he was with UNT, so University of North Texas, and he'd driven down from Denton to Dallas to go to this meeting and bought his own lunch. Typically I'd get the email saying, oh, do you have free lunches for? No.
Yeah.
He drove himself, and he paid for his own lunch. And I'm like, well, young man, and he came in a suit and tie, and I'm like, well, young man, I need to get to know you. Let's have a one-to-one. I want to learn what's going on. Well, as I find out, this young man started the supply chain club at UNT, so he's the president, and then he's bringing in all these other people. Then he started a laundry business, and then he's so gregarious, like he there's nobody he won't talk to.
Right.
So he finds another networking event in Denton that the mayor is going to be speaking at. He goes to see the mayor, and he makes his way across the room and somehow says, "Hey, mayor, I want to text you my idea about this laundry thing." And the mayor's like, "Okay." And so he gets the guy's cell phone number and he texts him, and the mayor texts him back and says, "Oh, I have actually an investor that I know that would love to partner with you on this." And there it went. And now this young man's with BSNF, Burlington Northern, BNSF, Santa Fe Railroad up in Kansas City, killing it. But I use that example when I talk to the university students, the MBA students here locally, about you can't be intimidated by who's in the room, because you never know. If you're waiting until you need a job, then the chances of you being able to really maximize your opportunities are really slim. But if you can just be fearless, just get out there and you could be this young man. I mean, who was just like, he ended up on billboards for UNT. He was just a young man who's like from East Texas. But he knew no fear. And I think that's part of the networking. You just have to remove the fear and say, "Hey, you know what? I might not have all the right things to say, but that's okay. Put a smile on my face and ask some good questions."
My dad was a college professor. My mom was an educator. My stepmom's an educator. Very different world. I have a brother and a sister. We all went self-employed the same month, the same year. So I think my dad just about had a coronary 30 some years ago, because in his mind, it's like you go find a big institution, you join. And my point is that we never talked networking, right? We never talked about these relationships and how to do these things. And I think that people who are exposed to those things, I'm not talking hardcore sales, but just the whole notion of there are people around you that have solutions for you. You just have to tap into them. I don't know, what did your parents do? You moved around quite a bit, or a little bit at least, on the run to Montana for a year.
So my dad was in the X-ray business, and my mom was a mammographer. So in California, so he abandoned all that when we moved to Montana. We bought a butcher shop, a little hotel, and a grocery store. So that was kind of my first opportunity to see what it's like to run a business. I didn't have any wish to run it after watching.
I'm sure.
Like brick and mortar never appealed to me after being a 12-year-old, and I'm like, I'm working 12 hours a day just trying to help him keep up. So that never really appealed to me. But then moving to Texas, my mom was still a mammographer, and I'm still the only one who's an entrepreneur. There wasn't anything ever in my family that was. I just have ideas. I want to be a solution provider. I feel like you're the same way. And so at some point you say, "Hey, I see these problems and I want to provide a solution. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need to take the risk and get out there and figure out what that solution looks like." So that's what I did. My family's all educators too. They're all like, the rest of them. So they're used to that steady paycheck. But they're like, Cheryl, like, how do you do that?
Well, when you have a steady paycheck, hunger is a powerful motivator, right? Yeah. And when you have a steady paycheck, you're just, until you, like your friend, losing clients and getting sued by another, you're not hungry, and you don't need to do things. Great segue. Let's switch gears, talk about your business, what you do, how people can help you, how people can get a hold of you.
Golly. So I'll talk about really the way we got started, and you see this here at the bottom of the screen, is Empowered Advantage. And
this is audio only. So I'll put.
Is it audio only? Okay, audio only.
You look great, but it's audio only.
Oh no, that's all right. That's all right. Audio only. That's okay. So Empowered Advantage, the letter M, poweredadvantage.com that was the original company that we started, and we decided to, as we learned about subscription-based services as entrepreneurs, man, that was eye-opening. Like it was 2013 and we're learning about subscription-based services for all these crazy things in life. And as I'm saying, hey, I left my 30-year radio gig. I need some help. And just as through those discussions and the discovery, we found that there were these services that, hey, I don't have to be employed to access them. And as a matter of fact, there can be more cost-effective ways to do things, not everything, but some things. And so that's how we decided to kind of create a suite of 7 services. So that's under the Empowered Advantage umbrella, really working with the employed and specializing in 1099 contract labor, right? Those who are offered nothing or can't take advantage of what's being offered for whatever reason. But because I'm a radio girl, the other side of my life was events, like all these training events. So I do LinkedIn roundtables, I do voiceover classes, I do, what are some of the other things? We do Connect Fest we had a networking podcast, Network Today, and do an annual Connect Fest and other training things. So I have a writer's block, an author event for entrepreneurs coming up on 10/31. And so just all these things. Somebody said last year, well, Cheryl, how do you make money on all that? I was like, well, that's a really good question.
Yeah. Well, I look at it as how you're making money is really how people made money for hundreds of years, because they would farm in the summer, right? In the winter, they would trap and do fur, in the fall, they would do some, you know what I mean? Timber. So the Industrial Revolution brought the whole notion of, hey, here's one job, you work one job and it's 40 hours a week and we'll give you a paid vacation. That's really new, right? What you do, I think, and I've not studied it, but to me, it just seems like, okay, I make candles, I do this, I do this, I do this, and I've got a printing press. That's how it was. That's how people eked out a living. They did a lot of different things.
Yeah, and if you love it, it's not hard. Like we're not trying to put little fingers in the hole of the ship, right?
Yeah.
They're just some things that we love, like you.
Yeah.
Right. So you do 2 different things that could be diametrically opposed. If other people looked at it, they'd be like, what? I mean, you were an attorney, but you do networking. Like, I'm not getting this.
Yeah.
But the truth is, so I provide subscription-based services, but then I do all these events, right? But one markets the other.
Yeah.
So I could go buy a billboard, or I could buy radio ads or whatever, or I could spend my time doing what I love to do, and that's events and helping empower people through just whatever educational component we want to roll out at that time. So yeah, that's why we warehouse all of that under Empowered Productions for entrepreneurs, and some are fee-based and some are free. But it's fun because now it's a little bit of a moneymaker, but it's more of at least a consolidated way for people to say, hey, this is how Cheryl helps entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So plug into her universe, and then I get to love it. I mean, I get to do what I love because I get to throw parties.
Yeah. Okay.
And let people show up and, learn from each other. But
people can get a hold of you through empoweredadvantage.com.
Yes, they can. The best is LinkedIn. I mean, go to LinkedIn. It's Cheryl Powers. So you're going to see Cheryl with an S, Powers as in Austin. And you'll see an arm, like strong arm at the end of that. And that's how you know it's me. But it'll say Dallas-Fort Worth. So I don't know that there's another Cheryl Powers in Dallas-Fort Worth, at least not one that's on LinkedIn. So yeah, I love LinkedIn because then it allows me to then connect you with other people.
Yeah, I agree. I run into people all the time trying to create the next LinkedIn. It's like, well, why? Well, there's problems with LinkedIn, problems with everything. There's problems with whatever you're coming up with. I don't mean to disparage it, but there's hundreds of millions of people on LinkedIn. I can live with some of the problems. So. Yes.
And in its imperfections, it's still the best option out there. And I'm unwilling at this juncture to dive in and try and learn something else. So I'd rather just learn LinkedIn.
Yep, I
better.
Well, I appreciate your time here today. This has been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun, and thank you so much for even thinking about me. Right?
I was on a podcast with you.
Well, right. Thank you. I appreciate you. And this has been a really good time. And I can't wait to have another discussion.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.